You wake to a sound that doesn't belong in a city. A low, steady creak, like something ancient, shifting under pressure. At first, you think it's thunder, but then glass hums. Somewhere far below, concrete sighs, and the earth exhales, like a sleeper finally stirring after a long, angry dream. You open your window. The air feels thick, alive, like it's waiting for you to notice. Across the street, a lamppost tilts. Its roots, yes, roots, curl from the pavement, gripping the cracks like fingers through dust. You blink. Once, twice, and the sidewalk is split open like a scar that finally decided to heal. The cars haven't moved, but the ground beneath them has. Their tires are half swallowed by fresh soil, black with moisture, breathing. Somewhere down the block, a vine slithers up a billboard, curling around the words rebuild, reclaim, restart irony, or prophecy. People stand on their balconies in robes and disbelief. Phones rise. But for the first time in decades, the screens can't keep up. The city is greening in real time. Brick turns to moss. Wires become vines. Steel softens beneath bark that grows faster than your heartbeat. And the sounds, they're not screams. Not yet. Just wonder. That quiet kind of awe that borders on terror. A woman drops her coffee. It blossoms into flowers before it hits the ground. A bus shelter shudders, then bursts. Glass, replaced by leaves woven like lace. Children reach out to touch them, laughing. Their joy the first real sound the world's heard in years. For a moment, you think it's beautiful, maybe even merciful, until the wind changes. That's when you smell it, the decay, the rot of things that can't keep up. Plastic, rubber, asphalt, melting back into the dirt. The world isn't dying, it's digesting. And somehow, you understand. This isn't destruction, it's memory. It didn't take long for humanity to respond. We always do. The same species that built cities from dust and stars would never kneel quietly beneath a vine. The first retaliation didn't come from governments. It came from panic. From men in suits who watched profit wilt overnight. From markets collapsing beneath the weight of leaves. And so, they fought the green. Drones took to the skies again, but not to deliver food or medicine this time. They carried fire. Forests that had risen overnight were flattened by flame. Flame that spread faster than the code that started it. For every tree that fell, 100 roots remembered the pain. And for every root that burned, the earth learned how to fight back smarter. It started with pollen. Invisible, gentle, deadly. The air thickened, not with poison, but with programming. Spores began rewriting the rules of chemistry itself. Machines jammed, engines corroded. Anything built by steel or plastic decayed like flesh left too long in the sun. Cities coughed. Air purifiers clogged with the same dust they tried to erase. Oceans glowed faintly green at night, a bioluminescent bloom that pulsed like a heartbeat. Beautiful and final. Governments called it eco-terrorism, but there was no one left to blame. The enemy didn't speak, it simply grew. So they built walls, glass domes, carbon shells, artificial bubbles where air. Inside, humanity learned to garden again. Not for joy, but for survival. Every seed sterilized, every leaf monitored. And outside, the wilderness learned patience. It pressed against the glass, watching its old tenants suffocate inside their own inventions. But even inside the domes, nature whispered through the cracks. Mold in the vents, roots in the walls. A single dandelion in a steel corridor could start a riot. They outlawed soil, outlawed rain, outlawed touch. And yet, the more they sterilized, the weaker they became. Children grew up without ever feeling grass underfoot, without dirt under their nails, without real sunlight on their skin. They became pale, perfect, afraid. The domes turned humanity into its own endangered species. And for the first time, the Earth wasn't the one that needed saving. You watch through reinforced glass as vines crawl over the horizon. Slow, steady, inevitable. The forests aren't angry anymore. They're reclaiming. Not through violence, but through inevitability. Because that's what nature has always been. Patient, persistent. A force that doesn't need to win. Because it never stopped playing. If this fracture made you think, ask yourself, if the planet fought back to survive, would we call it revenge or just balance restored? The war didn't end with victory. It ended with exhaustion. When you fight the Earth long enough, you start to hear it breathe through you. The domes cracked, not from roots or storms, but from within. The people inside stopped believing in the separation, stopped believing that glass could keep the world out or keep them in. It began with small rebellions, a child digging her fingers into sterilized soil just to feel it, a scientist letting one unmodified seed fall into open dirt, a medic using wild moss to heal a wound that medicine refused to close. They called it contamination, but really, it was communion. Because the human body had started to change. Breath adapting to pollen, skin thickening under new sunlight, heart syncing with the rhythm of the forests outside the walls. For the first time in centuries, evolution wasn't waiting for permission. It was rewriting us, line by line. Outside the domes, the wild wasn't just wild anymore. It was aware. Trees leaned toward the sound of footsteps. Mushrooms pulsed faintly when you whispered near them, as if listening. And deep in the reclaimed ruins of old cities, something extraordinary began. The hybrids. People born with lungs that could process spores instead of oxygen. Eyes that could see in ultraviolet. The same light plants used to speak to each other. They didn't fear the forest. They were the forest. In time, their hearts developed a pulse slower than ours, a patience that made them almost ageless. They grew gardens in their skin, literal chlorophyll veins running beneath translucent flesh. Every breath they took recycled the air itself. They didn't need machines anymore. They were the ecosystem. And so, humanity split again. Not into nations, but into species. Those who remained human, and those who became something gentler. Something that no longer needed to conquer to survive. They built settlements without walls, villages that breathed with the seasons, houses that grew like vines and healed when damaged, food that harvested itself when it sensed hunger nearby. They didn't farm the earth anymore. They negotiated with it. Somewhere, the last human president made a speech, broadcast to no one but static. He said, "We forgot that to survive doesn't mean to dominate. It means to belong." And then, silence. Because history didn't need leaders anymore. It needed roots. You walk through one of those hybrid settlements now, the air thick with hums of both language and leaf. You can't tell if the whispers come from people or trees anymore. They speak in the same tone. A child, green-veined, laughing, runs past you. Her hair glows faintly in the dusk. She looks back and says something you'll never forget. It's okay. We don't call it Earth anymore. We call it home. And for the first time since the sky first cracked open, you believe her. If this fracture moved you, like this video, share it and ask yourself, if the only way to survive was to stop being human, would you evolve? Or would you fade with the old world? Time moves differently now. There are no clocks, no alarms, no deadlines to outrun. Days simply arrive and depart without permission. The sky no longer belongs to planes or pollution. It belongs to the light itself. Children don't learn from screens anymore. They learn from seasons. From the way a tree leans when the wind changes direction. From the sound the rain makes when it falls on different leaves. And yet, the memory of our old world never vanished. It lives in stories. In songs, the hybrids sing around fires grown from bioluminescent wood. They sing of a species that loved too loudly, built too fast, and learned too late how to listen. You walk through one of those gatherings now. The music is soft, half heartbeat, half wind. Someone hands you a bowl of water that glows with light from within. They say it's called the memory drink, made from the roots that feed on history itself. You sip it and see everything again. Cities, fire, fear, greed, but also kindness, laughter, the way a hand can still find another hand in the dark. You set the bowl down. The hybrid child from before looks up at you and asks, "Was it worth it?" You don't answer immediately. How do you measure worth in centuries of noise and regret? Finally, you whisper, "Maybe it had to happen this way. Maybe we needed to break before we could belong." She smiles, and in that moment, you realize something small and beautiful. The Earth never needed us to save it. It needed us to remember we were part of it. You look up, a sky woven with roots and light and color. Not a warning, not a punishment, just a reminder. Every breath you take is borrowed. Every moment a gift from the ground beneath you. The camera pulls back in your mind, through forests grown over cities, through rivers sparkling with life, until you're small again. Just a heartbeat in the soil. Just a story the Earth decided to tell one more time. If this fracture made you feel something, share it. Tell someone you know that you were here, that you listened. Because every view, every comment, every whisper you leave behind is a seed. And like all seeds, it will grow. If you're still here, if you made it through the fractures with me, thank you. Because this was never just about the Earth fighting back. It was about us, finally learning how to stop, how to listen, how to be alive in a world that no longer belongs to us, but still lets us belong. In this reality and the next, never stop chasing the fractures.